Hi everyone, my name is Chase Helvey. This is my final project for our Interpersonal Communication course. For my project, I focused on a communication situation that most of us experience every day. Interacting with people we usually don't talk to, like acquaintances, classmates, coworkers, or people we see all the time, but never really engage with. The research question I explored was which form of communication was most effective when talking to new people or people you usually don't talk to, either nonverbal, verbal, or digital. I chose this topic because I want to become better at connecting with people outside my close circle, and understanding how communication works in those moments can really improve my confidence in social skills. I picked this question because I noticed that I sometimes feel awkward or unsure how to start conversations with people I'm not close to. At the same time, meeting new people and creating new connections is an important part of life, whether it's school, work, or everyday interactions. So I wanted to understand what communication behaviors actually make people more open, what type of communication has the biggest impact, verbal, nonverbal, or digital, and how I could use these skills to improve my confidence and build better relationships. Now I looked at what experts say about these three communication channels. Nonverbal communication came up as extremely important, especially in early interactions, according to Burgoon, Guerrero, and Floyd. Things like eye contact, posture, tone of voice, and facial expression strongly affect first impressions when people don't know you very well. They rely more on your nonverbal signals than your actual words. Verbal communication is essential once the conversation starts. McCornack and Morrison explain that verbal communication helps reduce uncertainty, builds trust, and allows people to find common ground. Even simple small talk can open the door to better understanding and more possibilities. And digital communication works differently. Research by Valkenberg and Peter shows that digital interactions like sending a message or interacting on social media can make face-to-face communication less intimidating. It helps warm up the connection or prepare you with the insight you had before with the person before you actually start your conversation. Because it lacks nonverbal cues, it can also lead to misunderstandings. Overall, the research suggests that nonverbal cues influence whether people want to talk to you, verbal communication builds the interaction, and digital communication supports connection from a distance. Section 3. My methodology. To test these ideas in my own life, I designed a 7-day experiment. Each day I focused on one form of communication while interacting with people I usually don't talk to. Days 1 and 2 were verbal communication days. I made an effort to start conversations, ask questions, and say simple things like, "How's your day going?" Days 3 and 4 were nonverbal communication days. I focused on smiling, making eye contact, and having open posture and using a friendly tone. And days 5 and 6 were verbal communication days. I interacted with acquaintances through messages, group chats, or social media. And day 7 was a natural communication day. I combined everything and observed what happened. Each day I tracked how many interactions I had, how people reacted, and whether the interaction felt awkward, neutral, or positive. My findings: nonverbal communication had the biggest impact. When I smiled more, made eye contact, and looked approachable, people were more likely to talk to me. Even strangers returned the energy I put out to them. These days had the most positive interactions overall. Verbal communication also made a noticeable difference. Small conversations or asking simple questions helped me break the ice. Sometimes it felt a little forced at first, but once the conversation started, it started to flow more naturally. And digital communication helped make people feel more familiar, especially in group chats or messages. But it didn't create the same depth or connection as the other two forms of communication. It was helpful, but not as effective on its own. On day 7, I realized that the best interactions happen when verbal and nonverbal communication work together. Being friendly in my body language and using simple conversation skills. This project taught me a lot about communication with people I usually don't talk to. The biggest takeaway was that nonverbal communication, for me, was incredibly powerful. Before we even say a word, people judge whether we look friendly, confident, open, or approachable. I also learned that starting small conversations isn't nearly as scary as it feels. People responded well when I made an effort, and I realized that many people are just waiting for someone else to take the first step. Digital communication is useful, but mostly as a support tool to maintain light connections. It doesn't replace face-to-face connection. It isn't as deep as the other forms of communication. Moving forward, I plan to continue using friendly nonverbal cues in initiating small conversations. I also want to improve at following up with people digitally so relationships don't fade. This project showed me that building connections isn't complicated. It requires intentional communication. In conclusion, my research question asked which communication form is most effective when interacting with people I usually don't talk to. Based on academic research and my week-long experiment, nonverbal communication was the most influential, especially when it came to approachability and comfort. Verbal communication helped keep conversations going, and digital communication supported light connections. This project overall has helped me become a more effective communicator by showing me how powerful small behaviors can be. Being intentional about communication not only improved my interaction with people I normally don't talk to, but also improved my confidence in social situations. Thank you for listening to my presentation.